Have you ever looked at your calendar and thought, how am I this busy and still not where I want to be? Like you're doing all the things, but somehow the needle isn't moving? Here's what I found is most people don't have a time problem. They have a leadership problem with their time. Because your calendar, it's not just a schedule. It's a mirror of your priorities, your standards, and ultimately your future. And if you want to build a business and a life that you love, you don't need more time. You need a CEO calendar. And so today I'm breaking down how leaders actually spend their time and how shifting this one thing can completely change your results in business, leadership, and your life. So let's jump into today's episode. One of the things that I've seen with lots of clients is how our calendars reflect your leadership, not your busyness. So most people fill their calendars based on reactivity, not leadership. Meetings they didn't need to attend, tasks they shouldn't be doing, constant interruptions that pull them out of focus. And then they wonder why they feel stuck. Because here's the truth is your calendar is your leadership in action. So if your calendar is chaotic, your business will be too. When I started stepping into true leadership, I realized I had to stop asking, what do I need to get done today? And start asking myself, what does the leader that I'm becoming spend time on? And that shift alone changed everything. This is also mentioned in the book that I've talked about a few times on the podcast, the book Essentialism, doing less, but doing it a lot better. Now, CEOs prioritize thinking time, not just doing time. And this is something I had to learn the hard way. High performers are great at doing, but leaders, they're great at thinking. I used to fill every open space in my calendar, back-to-back calls, constant output, and I thought that meant I was productive. But what I found is that real growth came when I created the space to think. So something I talk to a lot of leaders about is taking time to zoom out, to reflect, to ask better questions. Because strategy doesn't come from chaos. It comes from clarity. So now I block time for vision planning, reviewing what's working, adjusting what's not. And honestly, this is where the breakthroughs happen. And there's a really good book by Dan Sullivan, and it's this whole idea of the concept of thinking time. It's really powerful here. Now, CEOs also protect their energy, not just their time. And this is a big one because I used to think that time management was the goal. And in fact, what I really found is that energy management is everything. You can have the perfect schedule, but if you're exhausted, overwhelmed, or distracted, it won't matter. So now I build my calendar around when I'm most energized, when I do my best work, when I need rest and recovery. Because your energy determines your impact. And this really ties directly into one of the core pillars of the fulfillment. Because what's the point of building a business if you're too burnt out to enjoy it? Now, CEOs, I also found, really focus on revenue driving activities. Now, this one might hit a little bit, but this is what I found is most people are busy, but not profitable. They're organizing, planning, tweaking, perfecting, but they're avoiding the things that actually grow the business. So sales conversations or lead generation, follow-ups, content that converts. And I get it. Those things can feel uncomfortable, but leaders don't avoid discomfort. They prioritize impact. And so when I shifted my calendar to prioritize revenue generating activities first, everything started to change. I started to get more clients, more clarity, more confidence, because growth requires the focus. Now, something else that I've learned and that I coach people on is that CEOs don't do everything. They decide what gets done. And this is a huge leadership shift because I used to think being a great leader meant being involved in everything. But what I found is that leaders don't do everything. They decide what matters. And then they'll delegate, automate, or eliminate. Because every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And if you're constantly in the weeds, you can't lead at a high level. And this is where that pillar of leadership is in action. Now, CEOs also will schedule personal life first. And you did hear me right, that they'll schedule that first. And this sometimes surprises people. But what I've learned is that most successful leaders that I know, they don't build their life around their business. They build their business around their life. So that means family time goes in the calendar first, vacations get scheduled in advance, personal priorities are non-negotiable. Because if you don't design your life, your business will take over it. And this is where fulfillment and growth meet, because your dream life isn't something you earn later. It's something that you are building along the way. Now, one of the simplest, most powerful habits that I've implemented, and I coach other people to do as well, is having that weekly review and reset. So every week asking what moved the needle, what didn't, and then what needs to change next week. Because success isn't about perfection, it's about adjustment. And your calendar should evolve with you. And this is how you stay aligned. This is how you stay intentional. Now, the other thing is I find that really high level CEOs will actually say no more than how often they say yes. And this is something that I coach people on all the time, because every level up requires new levels of boundaries. More opportunities will come, more requests, more distractions. And if you say yes to everything, you dilute your impact. So now I ask myself, does this align with where I'm going? And if it's not, it's a no. Not because it's bad, but because it's not aligned. And there's some really good stuff in the book, The Gap and the Gain, really around staying focused on progress and alignment. Now, this other part that I've learned that I feel like is a huge game changer is where CEOs think in outcomes, not tasks. And this is a huge mindset shift, because most people plan their day around tasks, but leaders plan their day around outcomes. So instead of I need to post content, it becomes how do I create content that brings in 3 new leads? Instead of I have to have calls, it becomes how do I convert 2 clients this week? So your calendar becomes more intentional, more focused, more powerful, because you're not just staying busy, you are driving results. Now, your calendar is what's going to create your future. And at the end of the day, this is what I've found. You don't build your dream life someday. You build it in your calendar today. Every hour, every decision, every priority, it's all adding up. So if you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or out of alignment, don't start with your goals. Start with your calendar, because that's where your life is actually happening. So if this episode resonated with you and you're realizing, wow, I have been operating like an employee in my own business, then I want to invite you into something inside my LFG Business Academy on Skool. It's completely free. And I break this down even deeper. We focus on leadership, fulfillment, growth, and how to actually build a business that supports your life and doesn't just take it over. You'll also get access to some free tools, and that's going to help you step into that CEO version of yourself. Because your dream life doesn't come from doing more. It comes from leading better. Thank you so much for being here, for investing in yourself, and for choosing growth. And just remember, your dream life starts with the way that you lead, the way that you live, and the way you grow. I'll see you next time on Your Dream Coach podcast.